Happy New Year! It's the end of 2024 and we're going into 2025, and I just thought it would be fun to make a little chatty video talking about my reflections on the year that we've just had, and my kind of goals for the next year ahead. I'm going to post this, and I think I'm going to post it publicly because if people want to look in on my life, like, that's fine by me. But this is pretty much just like a bit of a diary, because I think it can be quite nice to look back on like your goals for previous years and see if you found them. And I've got quite a lot of kind of thoughts going on, and I'm quite curious about where I'm going to be next year with them. I am going to be knitting throughout this video, so I guess I can try and get them in frame. Some people say that it's quite relaxing to watch me knit, so I will do that as part of it. You can see what I'm about to. This is a big chunky yarn. I got gifted it, and I'm making a jumper for my best friend. Like, this is her yarn from a D-stash, so I'm making her a jumper. I'm making it in pieces rather than in the round, and the pattern is just my own. I'm going to make a drop shoulder with a round neck, and we'll see how long the sleeves go based on how much I have left. But I only cast it on last night, so finished the ribbing, and it's just back and forth now. For the knitting people in the audience, or people are curious. So, how was my 2024? I think, like a lot of people, it's a tough time to be alive. The unprecedented times that we've been living in remain unprecedented, and this includes for me. I had some difficult stuff, and I'm going to start with the worst bit first. And like, it's a tricky one, and that's career stuff. So in 2023, right at the start of the year in like February, I had a big breakdown. I suffered from some really extreme burnout. I went home from work one day feeling kind of like not right, and I'd had loads of other like life stuff go on, and just everything got on top of me, and I couldn't do anything. I fully got chronic fatigue. I had to quit my job. I had to put a stop to uni, and I put a stop for uni for initially 6 months to go back in September, and then I extended that for another 3 months with the uni's approval. So I was going to go back to it in January, and I had 2 pieces of work outstanding: a process report, which I had failed a couple of times already, and like, it's a big piece of work. It's the equivalent to the final year project that I did, not quite entirely in scope, but in length, and the amount, like, pretty much in the artwork is pretty much equivalent to the final year undergrad project that I did. So every time I had to do this, and I think I had about 4 whacks at it in the end, starting from scratch every time. And so I had this process report outstanding, and I had to finish up my thesis. So I strapped myself in January, put all these like boundaries in place so that I'd not be trying to overload myself, and it was like, I'm going to say no to things so that I can just have the time and the energy to focus on this, and we're going to get it done, and we're going to get through it. And so I rewrote this process report, and then I was working on my thesis while I was waiting for that to come back and be marked, and I failed it again. And this wasn't just a little like tweaky failure, like, oh, you just need to include this one little bit, or this just needs to be developed a little bit more. It was like start from scratch, like start again. The piece of work that you're doing, that you're analysing, like the bit that you've chosen isn't great, like, so you're going to need to find a different bit, and by dint of doing that, it means you'd have to start the whole thing again. Like, I wouldn't be able to use any of it. It wasn't just adding a little paragraph or expanding on something or changing it. It was start all over again, and I didn't have that in me. So one of my 2024 goals was to just finish this stupid professional doctorate one way or the other, and I made the really difficult decision to let it go, which meant that some point in like April, May, I watched my dream die for my career, and yeah, it's a nightmare. It's upsetting. It's as upsetting as it sounds. I wanted to be a psychologist since since I knew about psychology as a job, since I knew that mental health was a thing that you could work in and work with. It was like psychologist. Since I was like 30, more than half my life, I've been working towards this goal, and I got so close. I got one assignment and the thesis submission, which it's pretty much all written, and like we were getting into like draft chapters, and it wasn't going to be that much more work, but then I had to stop doing it because I had to do this stupid process report, which I just kept failing and couldn't understand why I was failing it, and the feedback never made any sense, and so I had to let that dream die. And I wish I could, but I really loved the job. It was exactly what I wanted it to be. I was doing it. Like the job that I walked out of was it's called a preceptorship, so you do the job while you're still finishing the qualification. You've got like little tiny bits like that outstanding. So like I was in the job, I was working, I was doing it, and I really liked the work. And across different places as well. It wasn't just like, oh, I found the one little sliver of it. It was what I wanted to do. I was doing the thing I'd always dreamed of, and I think that's the thing. I'd got so close, and I was there, and then suddenly all just snatched away. So I've taken what I can out of that. I took the masters, which I got from finishing the first year of academia, like the first year of academic work. I got a letter like written on headed paper to show that I'd done the 450 clinical hours, so I can use that as part of like counsellor registration, so I can still do some clinical work with it, and I can and I've taken the research and the thesis, because now that's not attached to anything, it hasn't been used for any part of the qualification. I've taken it to another university, and I am doing an academic PhD, which means I'm back at uni, I'm back studying. Studying is really tricky, and when you've been studying like with a reasonably substantial break for illness, but like I started this malarkey in 2019. I've been in uni since then, and like even prior to that I only had like 1 year of work before it was like in uni, so I'm so like haggard with it that it's just so much harder than if I just decided to go to a PhD straight from doing an academic master's straight into an academic PhD. I think I would have been in much better shape than I am now, that much more like fallen apart, but fingers crossed that I'm going to be able to cope with the demands of that. We're looking at probably another 2 academic years of work, so that's cool. Yeah, and I've got complaining against the uni because of how close I was doing, and that's still all ongoing in its own set of drama. So hopefully it turns around and it stops being such a source of pain. But I basically spent the entire summer being really upset that my dream had died and trying to, it feels like, pick up the broken pieces of my career. In hindsight, this might be good, it might be okay, but I don't know. I can't stop myself working towards this goal now, especially since I know how good it is. So at the moment, my plan, and maybe we can see this as a reflection, is to apply for clinical after I finished the PhD, the academic PhD, because that's funded, and then it gets that very similar qualification, and it's another 3 years at uni. Why not? Let's see how many years we can rack up. So yeah, that's where that is. So that's been a really difficult thing basically every year since 2019 that's been quite difficult. But in the past like 2 years, 2023 and 2024, it's been grueling, really, and really like hellish to try and do it. Let's move on to something nice. Knitting and crafting. As with every other year, I've been doing a lot of knitting. I counted up my projects for this last year. Anyone want to make a guess? 84. 84 projects is how many things I'd done. And like some of those were jumpers. This cardigan was finished this year. So some of those were like big projects, other ones were just like little teeny weeny projects. And honestly, I probably did even more than that because I just went through and looked at what I posted on Facebook, which is most of what I've made. But sometimes when I've like made gifts and stuff, I've taken the pictures, so I've like sent them to people individually, but I haven't necessarily posted them like publicly on my Facebook. And then by the time I've given the person the thing, I then don't necessarily post the image up. There are probably more than that, but I had 84 based on the things that I found that I posted on Facebook, plus the stuff that I'd remembered when I was like, oh, and I did that at the same time, and like the really recent stuff. So I don't have any particular goals for 2025 with knitting and crafting. I'm quite happy with it. I did notice this year that I've got really that much more into gifting my makes and not making for myself as much. I mean, I am still making for myself, but also I've had a much higher proportion of making for other people, and that can be for specific people, but I've also had this thing of just like making stuff and being like, I want to make it, I don't want it, I'll definitely give it away when I'm done with it, but like I don't know who it's for, and then I've just found a recipient after I've made it, either because it's been like, I know who'd love this, or I've like just posted it on Facebook being like, I made this and I don't want it, who wants it? So yeah, loads of the stuff that I made this year was gifts, and that's been kind of knitting, sewing and crocheting. Also on the kind of knitting and crafting front, I'm feeling pretty good about my all of my like stashes and whips. I think part of the reason that I'm doing so much gift knitting is because like I'm quite satisfied with the amount of stuff that's in my wardrobe, and if I just keep knitting like even jumpers for myself, even with knitting being quite a slow process, I've become just so prolific with my knitting. I don't need any more jumpers, and I'm gonna end up in this like ridiculous situation. Am I gonna make myself more jumpers? Yes, but it needs to be more like 1 to 3 a year than like 8 or 9. Like it's too many that I'm making. And like I don't really need anything. I'm just kind of making because I want to make. So yeah, lots of gifting. I did a whip challenge, which was like a video that I made, and I cleared a massive pile of whips like down to something in quite a short period of time. So I think, and like check the videos to keep me honest with it, but I found something like 21 crafting projects on my living room floor, either like in the basket or like by my table, or kind of just like floating around in the ether. And I made a special effort to not cast on any new ones or not start any new projects until I'd got that down to 7. And I did that within about, and I was doing an update every 2 weeks, and within 6 weeks I'd done that. Like, so maybe it's like not a problem to have 20 projects on the go if you then complete like 5 projects a week. It doesn't necessarily matter. And like it was good to do it as a dedicated excuse me, as a dedicated whip bust. That was quite good, and that was quite helpful. And I think if I hadn't done that, I would have had like still quite a high number. But it does make me think that I can just kind of rock through and do more and like clear them up and stuff. So I'm feeling pretty good about my like whip situation. And I'm feeling quite nice about my stash as well, because I've had points where I've looked at my yarn stash and gone, it's getting big, it's getting too big, and then I've made a dedicated effort to not buy any new yarn, and it's gone down, and so it's feeling really, really manageable. My partner might say something different, but at the moment it's feeling like really manageable. So it's been another good year for knitting. I will continue to have another good year. I can't see why I wouldn't. I occasionally have like little challenges that come up and stuff. I don't have any particular goals for 2025. There's no like, oh, I need to finish all my whips, or I want to stash bust all of my yarn or fabric or anything like that. I did a little bit of a fabric declutter. I've occasionally like shared yarn with especially my bestie, and like everything's fine. I will continue to try and learn new techniques and be creative and stuff with it, because I always do, but I don't think I really need to set that too much as a goal, and I don't have any like, this year is the year that I learn brioche knitting or whatever. Like there's no particular focus for me with that. I think it would be nice if I can continue to be gifting, because I think I would quite like to consider myself as a generous person. So it'd be nice to continue that vein very much, and especially for things that take a long time. Like, obviously my bestie is very knit worthy. She's a knitter as well, so she knows like how much effort goes into making stuff. So it's nice that we're able to do those kinds of things for each other. And then it also means that I don't end up like cluttering my house. I clutter other people's houses with love and with like not too much rate, because I think as well, like if I make 10 hats and I give them away to 10 people, every person has only gained 1 hat rather than me gaining 10 hats. So it's like it diffuses it. It's just I'm abdicating my responsibility, despite the fact that I have turned into like a one-woman fast fashion production level thing. It's not Shein that's the issue, it's just Sarah by herself in England that's single-handedly clothing the entire population. Somewhat related to crafting and knitting, well, very related to crafting and knitting, is spinning. I'm going to take a sip of water. Maybe 2025 is the year we stay hydrated. I say water, you can clearly see it's Pepsi. So, yeah, spinning has been going well. This year I was gifted a whole load of spindles and spinning stuff, which I showed during my like whip bus in my little knitting podcast acquisitions part. I think the second or third one. I got a whole load of spinning supplies, which is really fun and exciting. And I've been having a really good time with it. During Tour de Fleece, which I participated in this year, I got to the end of my first fleece, which is cool because I have quite a few. I've made a little kind of agreement with a farmer that lives not very far away that I will take her fleeces every year as they're shorn. We haven't agreed like an end date for it, so if that arrangement no longer works out, I'll do that. But she said she was having real trouble getting rid of them, and I said actually I love them. It's grey fleece and black fleece, Shetland and Shetland Hebridean cross, and they're really beautiful that they come out with, and I really like black and grey to knit with and work with, so it's perfect. I don't necessarily have to dye them or anything like that. I can just get it exactly as is. It's really high value to me personally, and I think that's great. And I know the names of the sheep, although she did also get a white sheep this year, so I got to the end of a black sheep, and last year she had 3 sheep, so she had 2 black, 1 grey, and then this year when I went to pick up, she's taken on to foster an additional sheep whose sister had died, so she needed to be in a flock with another one, but the person that had the 2 sheep and like one of them had died didn't want to take on a new sheep, so like she came into this other flock, and so I got 4 this year, so 2 black, 1 grey, 1 white, and I also have 1 white Southdown fleece, which is the first one that I bought, which I was working through. So I've got bits of the white fleece from this year, I've got bits of the white fleece that I got last year, I have 1 black fleece from last year, and I've just finished carding. I've not finished spinning it, but I finished carding and prepping, like it's been washed and sorted, the grey fleece from last year, which means that I have 1 black fleece from last year, the 2 partial white fleeces, the 2 black fleeces from this year, and the grey fleece from this year. So I still have quite a lot, and I'm still not getting through them at a sustainable rate, but I'm now getting to the ends of them and I am processing them. This year for my birthday, which was in March, I got a drum carder, and that's been really helpful for being able to process stuff kind of at a much higher speed. So that's been really helpful for doing that. Also, I taught my best friend how to spin. I taught quite a few people how to spin, including my aunt, so I'm hoping that she'll have a go at spinning her dog fur. I made dog fur yarn during Tour de Fleece, and I'd made some before and I have made some since. And subsequent to that, I've been using the stuff that I spun during Tour de Fleece. I made my aunt a jumper because I'd made her a hat before, and she was so excited about it. She was so happy, and she said that St Bernards don't necessarily live very long lives. They've got quite a short life expectancy for dogs, and she was really upset at the thought that she wouldn't necessarily have all that many more years with him, and having something that would like memorialize him a little bit was a really nice idea, and that she'd have like the memories with it. So I thought she's become knitworthy for the hand spun dog yarn, because I thought it's wild, it's a little bit weird, and she wasn't expecting it. So I gifted her the hand spun dog yarn, and I made her a little jumper, and she was thrilled. It's like a stripy one, so it's got like a stripe of dog fur and then like a stripe of just acrylic plain. And I taught her how to spin, so she had a little bit of a go at spinning, and I left one of the spindles that I got gifted. I've gifted it forwards, which was one of the requests, and I messaged the lady that gave it to me and said, like, I passed it on, and she was like, I'm happy, that's what I wanted. Like, share with your friends, and my aunt had actually said, like, share the dog fur with, like, your spinning friends as well, so I've been doing that. So that's been really nice. But yeah, I taught my best friend how to spin yarn. She didn't like it doing it on the drop spindle, but she's got into doing it both on an iSpin and like mostly on her spinning wheel. She really likes it. She likes the level of noise it has, because the iSpin can be a bit noisier because it's a sewing machine running, so it's however loud the sewing machine is. And so she's started spinning, which is cool. And I think I mentioned when I went through the Halloween advent calendar last year, I had spun these little yarns, and I designed a whole load of different colour ones. Oh, I have one nearby because I'm using it. I spun up all these teeny little mini skeins. Oh, where's it gone? There it is. So everything I had were like these teeny little skein thingies, and they had all these like nice notes on them, and they were all like different. This is 22 yards and it's 2.5 grams, so they were all like this. They were all like between 3 and 10 grams, really. Like it's tiny. And this year we did the advent calendar together, so we did 50-50, because we did a Halloween advent calendar as opposed to a Christmas one, so it's 13 days, so we did 6 spins each plus an additional gift for each other. And it didn't fit in the box that I made. Like, the box that I put all of our ones in before only fit mine, and she'd made a whole load more of them as well. So we had, instead of it being like 3 to 5 grams, they were all like 20 to 50 grams. They were big. She'd mostly spun up like 100-gram braids and separated them out for the two of us. So yeah, we were doing like these much bigger ones, and I've noticed that about myself as well. I've been spinning up much bigger pieces and much longer pieces, and one of the things that I was doing, which was nice, is I would make up the hand spun yarn, tiny little skeins of it. I'd be creative with different types of yarns, different fibres, different types of spin and stuff like that. And then I'd wrap them up and give them to her as mystery like little gifts. And then if she'd had a bad day, particularly when like the trains were like difficult, so we were coming back on the train from work, she could open it, and then it would give her just like a little bit of like dopamine and love, and just like a little treat, packaged away for a day when it was needed. So I was doing those, but now she's spinning herself. Like, we've kind of dropped off with doing that, and that's been nice, because then it means I've been able to kind of settle into a rhythm of doing much longer spins, spins that are much more similar to each other, so it's not necessarily making a whole load of, let's say like a whole load of like mini skein art yarns. Like, they weren't necessarily like art yarn, but they were single balls of stuff, and like not very big and difficult to use by themselves. now I'm making kind of much longer skeins of yarn, much bigger, much more substantial, and like a lot more, I want to say like consistent. I think plain is probably the right word. I'm making more that are similar so then I can combine them, because I'm feeling less of a I need to be super creative with this, and more of a I can just like, I don't have anything to prove, I'm not making them for anyone else, so I can just make miles and miles of grey or black in the natural sheepy colours. Although I don't have to, because I got over my fear of yarn dyeing this year. Yes. So I've been dyeing my own yarn. I went to a natural dyeing workshop in like September, and I did we did our natural dyes, and I asked all my questions and about that, and then I did a natural dyeing project, and I made a little hat. I dyed in the wool metal head pun hat, which I maintain was not worth the effort, but you know, that's done now. And I got some acid dyes. I bought some off Facebook Marketplace. I shared them with my bestie so we can both kind of have a go and learn and play. And I've been playing with them, and I've had a good time with it. And I've found the bases and like colour combinations that I like, and I've been dyeing yarn, and I've been using my dyed yarn, which is really cool because I don't really like white yarn, and then every now and then I end up with like white in my stash. So this means that I can end up with not white. So I think it's cool that I know how to do natural dyeing. I do not think natural dyeing is for me. I'm glad that I tried it, and I'm feeling pretty confident in my ability to say like it's nice to have it on the back burner, but I'm not that keen on it. So I think that's just because particularly I don't like pale colours. I'm not particularly fond of brown, and I don't like yellow. And so a lot of like, especially alum dyed yarn, like when you use an alum as a mordant, comes out, like it tends really towards yellow, and you can end up with some really pastel-y colours. It just isn't it for me. So I've been using acid dyes. I suspect I'll get a few more, but I'm quite happy with what I've got at the moment. I have a red, which is definitely a bright magenta when it comes out. I've got a blue, which is quite a strong sort of inky navy-ish blue like this. It's not as far as navy, but it's like quite a strong blue. And then a violet, which is like a lot paler purple. So I can get a stronger purple by mixing the red, which is pink, and blue. So I've been quite enjoying kind of experimenting and playing with that, and making those kind of different colours. Also, turns out if you dye it yourself and you're a little bit shit with it, you can make variegated yarn. So it's all like tonally variegated, which looks really complicated, but actually it just means that you didn't get the colour consistent throughout, which is actually like a lot harder. So it's making very beautiful variegated yarn. So that's exciting. This year with spinning as well, I also made my first, not my first entirely hand-spun project, but I think my first entirely hand-spun, like the shawl. It was sizable, and that was like the biggest thing I'd ever made. Whether it's the first or not, because I think I made little gloves before. I've been making bigger projects out of hand-spun yarn, and I have started what is definitely my first sweater out of hand-spun. It stopped awkwardly in the middle of the row because I ran out of grey, and so I've spun some more. I need to wash it and let it dry. But this is I'm using one of the ones from the Norwegian Knitting Designs book, and it's just because it happens to be here, but it's grey, and I've got some green in the colourwork yoke. It was a top-down circular yoke pattern, but I have no gods and no masters, so I've decided to do it bottom up and in pieces, which is just my preference for getting a nice fit, and it meant that I could use some straight needles, which I quite like. And yeah, I'd say like I've got some issues around dye lot. Matches I'm wearing really well. I'd say I've got some issues around dye lot, but I don't know. None of this is dyed. This is just the sheep colour, and it's from the same sheep. It's from the same shearing, so Yeah, absolute madness happening there, but whatever. So yeah, this is what I'm working on. This green was the number 13 from my the from the Halloween advent calendar. So I've got 100 grams of this green. I've got the rest of this fleece and like a whole other one of grey from the same sheep. So the dye lot will be don't know. I love it though. So I'm just gonna keep working through it. I need to spin some more, and then I need to like wash what I've already got, and I've got like a single on the go as well. And then I'm gonna use that little bit of that little 2.5 grams. I'm gonna try and do like a little neckline with that because that's a combination of grey and green. So that's exciting. So spinning journey is all very cool. My goals for 2025 is trying to work out a little bit of a sustainable rhythm so that I don't just end up acquiring way more fleeces than I need and I'm able to use. Whether that involves some more sharing out of them or like semi-processing or just other ways that I can encourage myself to use my stash as it is. I do not know. I have found that if I've got a back carded up and just put on the side of wool, I will pick it up and spin it. But if I feel in the mood to do spinning and then need to do all of the fibre prep as well, I will not do it. So if I've got it like processed into bats, I feel like it's been done, even if the actual spinning hasn't been done. So yeah, I'm hopefully going to try and spin up some more, like card up some more bats and then just have them available. I'm thinking that's the strategy that I'm going to use to get through stuff, but I do not know yet. I've got more stuff to do. I have another 3 fleeces to wash and then a whole load of stuff to cut up still. Let's move on to the next area of life. Next one I've got written down on my little list is acro yoga. I have been doing a very good acro yoga practice this year. I've made it along to the weekly jams quite regularly. I haven't done any additional workshops or anything, and I'm pretty okay with that. It's still a little bit of a thing to manage my energy, so I'm not trying to like push it too much additionally. I'm just kind of trying to go regularly and manage that with a little bit of pacing because burnout takes forever to recover from, apparently. Possibly even literally forever. Like it might be a thing that affects me really, really long term. I've been going every week. Well, not necessarily every week, but very many weeks. I have been not going when I've been too tired, so I haven't been like very militant about it. And I think that's been good. I've been looking after myself pretty well, I think, as well. And that's really good for like my mental and physical health. And also when I exercise regularly, I look my best, I think. So like during the Panini, I wasn't able to exercise because all of my exercises that I normally do involve other people, like acro. And we couldn't do that when we were distancing. So I ended up with quite a different body shape and I didn't like that. So being able to access acro and keep the musculature that I like having has been really good. This year I found that I've been able to be really creative, which has been a lot of fun. And I've done a lot more basing. So like acro, you base and you fly. So whether you're the person that's picking the other person up or whether you're the person being picked up. And I think a lot of time when you're small and female and okay with being picked up, you end up being the person that goes on the top, you end up being the flyer, which is fine and good and like great, but you become a better acro yogi when you learn how to base as well. Like it makes you more rounded, it makes you understand the same move from different perspectives, and it it allows you to work different muscles and stuff as well a little bit and just try out something different. So I've been doing a lot more basing, and I've been a lot more creative. So I've invented new moves, I've invented new flows, and it's been really good to be able to put them out into the acro community, because I think a lot of time when you go and learn something, you go to a teacher and they teach you, and there's like the amount of stuff that you can learn, and you learn that, and maybe there's more stuff that gets invented, but it kind of comes in that one way from that singular repository. Whereas with acro, the way that I've learned it, like, I have been to a couple of classes, but I don't know, it's been like 8 years on and off, and I've maybe been to 3 classes and 6 days of workshop across all of that. So most of the everything that I've learned has been from jams. It's been from peers, from just teaching each other. And initially at the start, people teach you, and then you start teaching each other. So I've been teaching other people the basics of acro for quite a few years now. Like, someone new comes along and is like, yeah, let me show you the first couple of moves and base and fly, and then kind of just integrate in and keep trying new things as you can. And this year has really been a year of like, I'm going to invent new moves. I'm just going to try different things. I got quite heavily into this idea of like, what if I can make moves that rely on having a very flexible base, which will then make it really difficult for the big strong men to do. And I got quite into, I think even a little bit last year, like adapting moves. So, like, when I do something, it might be that I can't put one leg up, so I need to push up with both legs, and that'll change the way that I need to do the move and the position of the person. And it's been really interesting adapting how I do those, because I will do something in a way that the big strong men in the group can't necessarily, but then I can't do it the way that they do it. So it feels like it's opening up another area which, like, otherwise might have been like, someone might have said that I wouldn't be able to do it because I couldn't do it the way that the big strong men do. But actually making another way to do it means that I can do it, but then it also means that other small flexible women who have strength but they're not like big hench guys might be able to take that. And so I've been documenting it. I've let even people in like other acro groups than just ours know about it, and like have been willing to teach it and share that knowledge. And it feels really nice, having gone into an environment where I didn't know anything, having had people spend the time and invest in teaching me, having taught other people the things that I've been taught, to now also be adding in this extra layer. It's really like exciting for my creativity and artistry. So it's that like, I've got this idea, let's have a go. And it's also been really lovely to be in a space where people are willing to try the things that I do. So again, no particular strong goal with Acro for 2025. Just I want to keep doing that. I want to keep flying. I want to keep basing. I've got like a little bit of a goal maybe around reconnecting with the Oxford group. We used to have really good connections over there. I think there's still like maybe one person from when we used to connect with them like maybe a year ago. But we had a situation where like they came down to train with us. We've occasionally gone up to train with them, and we had like some friendships. And the really nice thing I found about that was like, one of us would like learn a move or invent a move or whatever, and then we'd share it around our whole group. And that happened in our group, and it also happened in the Oxford group. And I think at the moment as a group we've got connections to like London and Bristol, which are quite strong, and a little bit to Bournemouth. So we've got influences coming in from there. So if someone in that group learns stuff, it then sort of bleeds into our group and vice versa. And yeah, I think that's a really nice thing to have. So I think I'd quite like to build up a few more Oxford connections, build them back up so that we can occasionally go up there and play with them, and they can come down and play with us if they want to, and kind of see what we're doing. And it's just kind of nice to build up that community a little bit bigger as well. So that is my acro yoga journey. Also, kind of like in the aerials and stuff, I'm going back to pole like in a couple of days' time. I stopped doing pole dancing, partially because I was getting upset with the person that was running it. There seemed to be some favouritism, and I was very much not a favourite, and that was then impacting on what I was able to do, which was a real shame. It didn't feel like it was being supported, and it felt like it was because I was a little weirdo and not one of the feminine girly girls. But going to a new studio, and also I stopped because I was doing my PhD, so it felt like a sensible time to stop. But that was in 2019, and it turns out the uni just keeps going on forever if you're tenacious and stupid. So, yeah, my partner said that they're okay to pay for me to have pole classes again, which is very nice. So I'm going back to that. So that'll be nice to see where I am with that next year, see if I still really like it. We had some people over from Acro for dinner, and then they said they always wanted to try pole dancing. Like, it was a couple, and she wanted to try pole dancing. So I was like, I've got pole upstairs. Do you want to have a little bit of a go? Like, yeah, right. So like teaching, I was like, I've missed it so much. So that'll be fun. And in the same vein, circus. It's been another good circus year. In fact, it's been, I think, emotionally quite different, but like in a good way. So, at the start of the year when I was going around doing all of my career stuff, I told my boss I needed to take a little step back and said, I should be back for the summer. I'll let you know if I can't be with like as much notice as possible, but for the first couple of months of the year, I just need to focus on this, and I just need to focus on getting all of the uni stuff done. So I like muted the chat, didn't really engage with any of the circus stuff. Like, I let myself practice in the back garden if I wanted to. Like, I just felt in the need for hula hooping. I didn't like squash the urge down. I'd go and do that in the garden. But I didn't sort of engage with any of the circus stuff at all. And then when it all kicked down and I'd failed and I knew I was going to have to go, I was sat there like, I made the wrong choice. Like, I rejected the things that were really supportive to me and put them aside. And I think it was important. I don't necessarily have like regrets for it, but it was like, I miss you and I need to go into a nice supportive environment where people care about me. And I asked if we could have a training weekend, and she was like, yeah, sure, let's get everyone together, we'll do training. I was like, I'm coming back to the chat, it's like, we missed you, we knew that you had to go away and now we're glad you're back. So that was so like nice emotionally. And for me, the word family is very much associated with like family of origin, biological family, and I know a lot of people use found family and words like that. It's not something that I like. It's something I support, but it's not something I've ever used for myself. But this was the first time I was like, I need circus family, and that's what it felt like. And I haven't had that level of emotional connection, but like the separation and like coming back was really like powerful, and it just feels like I can see how much more important it is for me now because of like just how supportive that environment's become, just as we've worked with them. We've been really helping each other out in such a lovely non-toxic way. Like I got taken ill and someone just like stepped right in, someone else got taken ill and someone else just stepped right in and was like, you need the cover, I'm here, what do you need, let's make it work, you're struggling with this, let me fill in, you take a break. And just that real like unconditional support and no shame or judgment if people are being taken ill and did you need this and can I help you with that, like just really lovely. And with that really lovely framework sat there and my boss stupidly encouraging me, I keep sharing all of those, like, I've had wacky ideas. She set up a notebook. She's got a notebook where she just writes down all of the stupid stuff that I suggest because she's like, some of this is actually genius. It's just been acting as this really massive outlet for all of the creative things I could possibly want to do and being like, I really want to do this. Like, I want to learn this prop, of like, yeah, go do that prop, like I want to get really good at this, like do that, like do you need help with it? There's been like, yeah, I'll pay for you to do a little training course and we'll get the equipment that you need to be able to do like other things, and that's all like fantastic and great and wonderful. And so like I'm writing a play. I guess I have the 2025 goal to find the other afternoon that I need to sit down and write it. Um, like that I can finish it because I've written half of it. I've got a little scene in it that I want to edit, and I think I know how I want to edit it. And then I need to write the other half. It's only a 20-minute thing. My goal is that we can do it in schools and maybe in like assemblies, and then we can create a more extended version which we can do as like an actual production. I'm thinking again like in schools, but like in the evening as a ticketed event, like to focus on for the parents, especially if we've been teaching the kids to be like, this is like, we've taught your kids some stuff, this is us as professionals performing, and you can come along like and see it as a production, as like a ticketed thing, as part of that kind of package. But possibly putting it on in other places as well, and I think that's going to be a really fun challenge for people. I'm also thinking that I'm gonna do some songwriting, and hopefully be able to perform to some of like our own songs, like have something in house, and like as part of that to be able to sing while we're performing. So I'm thinking I'll sing while the people perform, and then when I'm performing, someone else sings, or it's just a backing track, and so people can are able to pull in some of their musical talents as well as their circus talent and develop technical skills and stuff as well. So I think that's going to be a really nice, fun thing that we can do together to keep supporting each other. I don't know if I'll get that all done this year, but I'm feeling quite enthused about it. Because in the next little thing that I wrote down to have a small chat about is music. I want to do more with music. It's been like quite a fun year. We've had a couple of really good gigs. We did Music in the City, that was a lot of fun. I had some friends come out and see me. I had some friends come out and see us at the Railway. We're back at the Railway at the end of this month, so that's really exciting. And the singer that normally sings Obka has double booked himself, so I'm going to be doing some extra singing, which is always fun, like fun for me. It's a shame that he can't make it, but it's quite fun that we're able to fill that, because they have like other guest vocalists and stuff as well. So yeah, I think that's going to be a hopefully really fun gig, possibly like with a lot more chance to perform for me on it, which I really love doing. So yeah, and hopefully we should be recording one of the songs that I wrote with Jude. So that'll be a lot of fun, and like hopefully that can get done, and that'll be cool. So yeah, I want to do more songwriting. I want to start posting my stuff up on Bandcamp. I had to go up posting one of mine up earlier because I was like, I can just put it there. And I've worked out that like I do much better if I just do it and do it shit, and then I can go back and do it better, or I can do something else that's better, like that's similar to it. But doing it and completing it feels really important for me to be able to then go on and do more with it, rather than trying to do one thing too perfect and never getting to the end of it. So yeah, I'm going to start posting some stuff up on Bandcamp, and at some point I'll be brave enough to share it, but and maybe I'll re-record stuff, and I'll hopefully learn out how to do recordings and make them sound kind of nice. And I've got some friends that know a lot more about that, so I'm going to be able to pull on their knowledge, I think. But that's going to be like a fun little learning curve. Also, I've taken up the bass. My friend had one and was getting rid of it, and I was like, oh yeah, I could get that. So I've got a bass and an amp. So I've asked Hannah, who's the bass player for the band that I've been doing singing with, if she can teach me a song. I don't have any goals with it, and I think that that's really nice. Just I want to have a bit of a go, learn a song or two. One of my friends that plays, I asked about teaching, said that he's set up for teaching and he really enjoys it. So I can pay for lessons with him, one-off, lots, whatever. So that's nice, and he's local, so it'd be cool that we can do that in person. So yeah, I think having some fun things to work towards with music will be really fun, and I guess we'll see what I've managed to do by next year. I've written an album, released it, become famous. You won't find out because I won't have a YouTube channel. I'll just be like, yeah, I did it, bye. Yeah. Also, kind of like with music, I've been like, one of the things that I started doing when I had my breakdown was more volunteering with a venue slash cafe slash art space. There's like a venue that's near us, and they physically closed this year. And it was really nice to be involved with closing that down. That was kind of it was a little bit bittersweet because something was ending, but it was really nice to kind of close it down together. And they'd gone when it was like the right time for them to close down the physical premises. But now they've been doing pop-up events. And I'm going to have a little chat with one of the directors about organising some of my own events there. Either sort of gigs, getting other people in, and being able to basically use some of the staffing and the contacts and the structures to be able to kind of run events and put stuff on that I want to see in town. So that's one of my like goals for 2025, the thing I'm hoping to do. And then the other thing that's come out, which I want to document because I don't know how flash in the pan this is going to be, but like I have become interested in like engineering. I've never been interested in engineering. I watched the Defunctland thing about animatronics and it woke something up in me. I'd like been lightly tinkering, like, oh, I could maybe make something a bit wooden, or like I could make a photo frame, that'd be cool. I'd like to do some other like craft that's woodworking type thing, and now I just want to make clocks from scratch. That's not something I've ever been interested in, and I think it's really interesting to have this point where I'm wanting to do something new. It's not like the thing that I've always secretly wanted to do, like deciding to take guitar lessons, because I'd had guitar lessons before and I always wanted to play the guitar a little bit, and it was all the fun, and I've been doing that kind of on and off for a while. Like, this is something I've never been interested in. Like, I've been actively disinterested and like making friends with engineers so I never have to do like engineering type stuff. But yeah, I got some little geary. I got some kits because I was like, I'm not gonna go into this like in a difficult way. And I made them up, and like they're only like the level of complexity of the inside of a Kinder egg. But I got a few of these. This is one of the super simple ones. It's just a little fidget toy, and it's kind of Christmas themed. It's a bauble, but I figure it looks enough like a ball that it's allowed to stay, and it's just got 2 gears in it. But yeah, I've been interested in like gears and mechanical things. I want to make a clock. I want to make a doorbell. I want to make a doorbell that talks, that looks like the doorbells from Labyrinth, that tells you to fuck off. I want to make a fridge that yells when you open it. And I'm thinking about like all of the ways that you can combine little pieces of technology, the things that already exist, like the Ring doorbell camera, how we can maybe set that up to a lock so we can let packaging in like remotely from phones, like, because a lot of the technology is there. To be able to kind of use the old tech to make something that's very like mechanical, but also to combine in some of the computerized components, maybe solder some stuff, build things. Yeah, just, I don't know, like, I'm really excited about it. And I've never been interested in this at all. So this might just be a January thing. It might be a look at this next year and go, oh yeah, I remember that. It might be about next year where I've just got all these stupid, ridiculous, whizzy gadgets and like hats that shoot lasers and a TikTok fuck off clock and a fridge yelling when you open it sort of thing. Like, I don't know. Maybe. I don't. We'll find out. But yeah, I think that it's really nice. My like spiritual reflection on it is that when I was younger, there was this big thing about being really consistent, and that was something that my parents really wanted from me. Like, you can't just have a phase with anything. And like, I get it in some ways. If I buy a whole load of stuff to do mechanical art, do it for 3 days, and then throw it all in the bin, that's like quite a waste of money. Maybe, but I can see how that's not very sustainable and not great. But like, for my identity, I'm feeling very flexible in this. Like, it's not something that I've ever considered. It's not something that I've ever been good at. It's not something that I've ever been interested in before, but I'm interested in it now, and I'm just allowing myself to explore it to whatever conclusion, whether it's just a singular project that I abandoned half finished, or whether it's a new hobby that I carry on for the next 10 years. I don't know, but it's really nice for me that my identity doesn't need to be tied up in it. And like it will become like part of my identity if I keep doing it long term. It'll become part of my life and a thing that people know about me and that I talk about and I'm interested in, and I do, and maybe connect with other people with, and all of that. But my identity hasn't precluded me from doing it. I think like my identity as a person who's not very mechanically minded, which is the way I've described it, doesn't seem to be stopping my enthusiasm or my like ability to learn. So maybe that's it. Maybe I've just won learning now. Like I know how to learn, and it's just like, let's go and do something unhinged, or it's just different, or I'm having a breakdown and I haven't realised yet. But yeah, I have no particular goals with that. I've got some fun ideas. I think it'd be nice to go. So yeah, exploring some new hobbies, putting down my knitting needles maybe, and picking up a soldering iron. Not because there's anything wrong with knitting, but just because it's going to facilitate me doing the level of mischief in the specific ways I kind of feel like doing at the moment. So I think I've spoken for nearly an hour. I think that's enough reflections, and I look forward to watching this at the start of 2026 and just seeing, did I achieve my goals? Were my goals at the end of the year and my achievements anything like where I started out? And how do I feel about everything? I think, because I think I've got a pretty good idea of how I feel about everything at the moment, documented. So yeah, and I know I definitely won't remember this. My autobiographical memory is generally terrible. So yeah, looking forward to watching this next year and seeing how the world has changed, how I've changed, whether nothing has changed. So, we fit a lot of rubles in a dead rat if you really try. I'll catch you later.